Step 1. Craft the structure. So let's say we are going to make an 8 bars long beat, and let's split it into 4 parts. Now the easiest way is to keep everything the same in the first 3 parts and make some changes in the 4th. And because this is a beginner tutorial, we are going to use a simple sustained bass sound, but on a startup we need a downbeat bass. This is going to be the sustained one, and to connect it with the downbeat bass, let's drop something here. So it's a really nice little layout to see everything. Next step is the drums. I'm going to use the drum rag because this is the best thing in Ableton. Let's drop in some random kicks and snares and lay down the most basic MIDI for them. Also, we're going to need some hi-hats too. Stay with me because later I'm going to tell you a very important thing about selecting your drums. We will need a ride loop too. And to make our life a lot easier in the stereo feed, let's drop a harsh effect on it. That basically just delays one side of the signal, creating a very nice wide effect. And because this part is going to be a little different, I want to add a drum fill and also kill the main drums. And finally, all you need to do is just drop a saturation on it on soft click mode to catch the peaks. Let's create the main sustaining bass now. So because I already have the structure, all I need to do is just drop a MIDI here. And on the pitch bend MIDI control, let's add the slight pitch bend effect. Before we start designing the bass, let me tell you that most of the producers love to use separate sublayers or subtracks. Now the easiest workaround for me is to hit Ctrl G and duplicate the track. Let's call this sub, let's call this mid bass. Let's start designing the sub now, but if you think a simple sine wave would be enough, you are wrong. So to make it cut through the mix, let's add a distortion and the linear fold, just bend it slightly. And I like to add another one, for example the tube, and create an almost squarey kind of shape from the sine wave. This is a lot closer to what we need in the drum bass track. But also let's filter it a little, not too much. If you are a beginner, you can do a lot with saw waves. This saw wave is a little boring, so let's add another one, but let's pitch it up to about 2.5 octaves. Now this could be cool, but let's modulate this layer to have a movement for the sound. So for that we are going to need an LFO, something like that, and on 1 bar length, and drop it on the level of the second oscillator. But let's make it stereo. But instead of a sample, I like to go with the color, white. Let's filter it a little and add some stereo width to it. Right, so this is a very basic setup, but with some process we can make it rock. You can do the next steps inside Serum, but because I don't really like the distortion types that Serum offers, I like to use Ableton effects. For every drum and bass bass, we always like to add some voices. This is why the chorus is here. But make sure we cut the lows on the voices, so we don't collide with the main bass. This is the fun part, what I love. Kilohertz has a great wave shaper that saw waves really love. So I'm going to load in the gabberer. And it creates mayhem instantly. When you distort, you kick off the frequency ranges of the sound, so we can even these out with a multi-band distortion, especially with an OTT. But we need more mids, so let's crank this up. Okay, so what is coming is the hardest part that you can't really save. You need to spend a lot of time to train your ears to be able to hear out what frequencies need to be treated. But some basic rules is always treat the mid-lows and the highs. So drum and bass basses don't really love very high, so we can cut them at around 10k. But also we can boost it a little lower. And the 500 Hz area is definitely something that we need to treat. Now don't be afraid to stack distortions. I'm going to add an overdrive. We are really creating aggression, and that is the goal because we're distorting together the noise with the saw waves, creating a very gritty kind of sound. But again, like always, we need to clean up the sound after distortion. So I need to cut the highs again and the lows and treat the mids a little bit. And because I cut the lows, I can add the sub and all together. So now they sound fine together, but let's add the final drive with the soft clip mode turned on. Let's color them together, so I can hear that the mid-loads are a little too much. And probably the subs too. Add a little more treatment on the very highs. Don't be afraid to go dual with the basses, in the mix it is necessary. So we can copy these, and this is what we are having now. And to add sidechain I use the utility, basically I'm just automating volume. So for the downbeat bass, let's use a wavetable that already has some very nice overtones. This is why I chose my PVM acidic custom wavetable. But you can use anything really that has some really unique kind of FME tone. And add a mirror warping mode. so I can have a wide range of colors. And let's use LE41 on the main tuning. And this is very cool for downbeat basses, but we need a sub too. And an extra saw wave for better grit. Now this is very raw, but we can color this using a convolution. Now it sounds great, but don't worry, with the distortion we can make it even worse. But with the phaser, modulating it with LE42, we create some nice movement to it. And the OTT evens out everything, and with the final filtering on the morph and LE41 on the cutoff, we can create even more movement, so right now it sounds almost cool. And the final soft clipping. But at the final stage I like to EQ it again on using an EQ8. So right now, I lightened the main sustaining bass because I didn't want to have anything on the snare. I wanted to have something after. So starting with a simple sine wave, I'm using LE42 as a pitch modulation, having a sound also like a kick. Next let's FM it using oscillator B. And as you can see, I'm using LE41 on the FM and little band warping mode on the second one. To color it, let's use the PZ SVF filter. Sounds like a very heavy phaser. Again, to add some chaos to it, let's use a convolution. The OTT evens out everything. With this EQ, we are focusing on the mids heavily. We want to have a very mid-range focused sound. And the final soft clipping. Okay, so this sound is cool, but I want to have a little more character to it, so let's boost this sound at around 800 Hz. Don't overdo it, try to match the two sounds. But also I want to have a little more highs. And let's make a new bass here, that based on our previously made structure needs to be very different. And this bass sounds like this. The main concept of this sound is to have a 3.5 octaves higher saw wave on the sine wave that basically moves together and distorts together. So they both go into filter 1. And as you can hear, the drive here and the tube here creates a very nice little movement on the distortion. Then they go into the diffuser that also emphasizes the mid loads a bit. Then in the effects, a distortion, another diffuser to boost those mid-range a little bit more, an OTT and the final clip. They all just fine-tune the sound, make it a little cleaner. But you know what? Let's use a reverb that opens up as we go to the end of this loud. So right now this is what we have. So right before the second downbeat bass, I wanted to have a little higher pitch impact sound that sounds like this. And the riser. That is basically stupid simple. I'm using this wavetable with a pitch bend and voices, and that's all. So right now. Now what I mentioned in the beginning of the video, everything sounds cool, but the drums are not okay. So they don't pair well with the basses. These basses are very heavy, we need heavier drums. Now this is what happens to me 99% of the times. I create the drums, then the basses, and I had to replace the drums to match well with the basses. So let's use this kick drum instead, and this snare instead. So right now. So if you are into more in-depth learning, click here for my academy, and also go to my Patreon where I can give feedback on your stuff and where you can download this project file from.